Anyone who's ever heard the sentence, "you're too expensive" or "your offer is too expensive," knows that it's a dreadful feeling. You don't like hearing that. It feels like you're getting criticized personally, and it kind of makes you start doubting if what you have to offer is worth it. And it might actually become kind of like a sales block for you in the future to pitch your offer confidently. So, in today's episode, I'm going to help you work through that. You are too expensive. We're going to fix that, and we're going to look at different ways that you can help people realize what the value is of your offer. Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy Show, the show where we talk about how you can lift your life and business with simple strategies. You have something amazing to offer and you wish everyone would buy it because you just know that you get to change lives, but alas, every once in a while you get the feedback, "you're too expensive," or "your offer is too expensive," or maybe someone doesn't tell you directly, but they just straight up ghost you once they've heard your price, or they don't email you back, or like in the DMs, the conversation falls flat once you tell them your fee. By the way, I think "your conversation falls flat" might be a Dutch expression that I've just translated to English. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a native speaker. I'm from Belgium. I learned my English from watching The Simpsons and Friends, and I was talking Dutch this entire morning. It's always a challenge for me to switch, but I'm practicing and getting better and better at this. So that is my personal win of the day, switching and getting better at that. But what was I saying? Yeah, that you all of a sudden you get that feedback and maybe people just don't communicate anymore, which makes you start doubting your prices. Or, you're at a family event and you tell your uncle or your brother-in-law what you do, and they ask you how your business is doing or what your services cost, and you tell them the price and they almost just fall off of their chair because they're like, "Wow, that's really expensive." And they're not in the scene. So you might be like a little bit like holding a grudge and you're like, "This is not expensive." But slowly that doubt starts creeping up on you and you start feeling like, "God damn, I'm afraid to pitch anymore. I'm afraid to tell people my prices, or, I'm not getting in the bookings I want to get. So maybe I should start lowering my price." And you start looking at what your competition is doing. I so often get these questions from coaches like, should I focus on what my competition is doing? Their prices are different, but I offer a higher value. My stuff is individualized, blah, 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 blah. And they know their prices are right because we set them together with my teachings, but still they're getting that feedback and it starts kind of like cock blocking them in their sales. It becomes a sales block, basically, because they start caring too much about what people said. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through a couple of reasons why it might not be that you're too expensive, but you're just maybe not going about it the right way, which makes it so that people are saying this to you. So because you're at this point, where you're like, okay, people think I'm too expensive. What do I do? But I don't know what to do anymore because I've posted, I've emailed, I've said it with confidence, without confidence, but I'm not getting the bookings. Let's go ahead and fix that, right? I'm going to walk you through a few steps and I'm just going to tell you what I think might be some of the problems so that you can go ahead and fix them. This is not an episode where I'm like, step 1, 2, 3. This is an episode where I just want to trigger your brain. I want to coach you into becoming more self-reflective. And especially, I want to coach you to start thinking like a consumer and to start analyzing your own behavior as well when you buy something and what is actually holding you back from buying something. So follow along with me as if for example, you're buying from me and I'm offering you a service like coaching, which I actually offer, obviously, business coaching. And pretend, constantly switch between your own business and you being the provider versus being the client or the potential client who wants to buy from me, okay? Let's go ahead. By the way, if at any point, I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're doing the laundry or you're cooking or you're working or you're walking or you're working out or you're dealing with screaming children. I don't know if this is the best episode to listen to then. But if you ever want to read the recap and the different tips and resources I link, you can always find this episode through fastforwardamy.com/podcast. I always write a recap of every single episode. Or you can just go to fastforwardamy.com/number of this episode. And if you just type that in, the numbers of this episode that you see on the screen right now, then you'll go to the article of this episode and you can just fully read the recap. We do that to make it convenient for you. Some people like listening, some people like reading, and I know that when I learn something like this, I often like writing down the link so I can find the article back. And sometimes when I'm listening to a podcast, I'll forward it to a friend or to one of my team members, and I just like bookmarking that stuff. So one of the first things that you need to consider is that when people tell you you're too expensive, let's address that first, right? Because that's also what I chose as the title of this episode. It's very aggressive. You are too expensive. In Dutch, we say je bent te duur, or in Flemish, I should add, in an Antwerp accent. Well, that's not nice because it kind of feels like your worth is attached to your work. And when someone criticizes your offer, especially when you're just starting out, it might feel like they're criticizing you. I just want to calm you down or like give you a virtual hug and tell you, you are not expensive. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not unworthy. If people don't want to buy your product or your service, you're totally fine. They're talking about your offering. And you are not your offer. You are not your business, just like you are not your revenue. You are not your likes. So I just want to reiterate that and say, like, this is a business issue we're handling in this episode, like in most of my episodes. There's nothing wrong with you. And I know that it's a challenge to not attach your worth to whatever's happening in your business because, you know, you're so passionate. But it is something that you need to practice when someone says something about your business, kind of like, you know, detach. Like, for example, this morning I got a message at 7 a.m. From someone in my family telling me that a sentence on a landing page of one of my offers was written in a bit of a weird way. You know, I'm a CEO of a multi-7-figure company. I do most of my communication through my coaching groups with my coachees, Slack with my team. Most people know not to text me about business stuff or DM me business questions on Instagram, but still, even I sometimes get a little bit tripped up when I get too much input. So this morning, I'm not ashamed to say, like, that tripped me up. And I was like, but it mostly triggered me because I was like, you are right. And also because I didn't want to see that at 7 a.m., you know, on WhatsApp. But she was right. The sentence should be broken up. So I was like, okay, let's go and fix this. I actually still have to like make sure that we fix it today or this week because it's not urgent. And sometimes, you know, that feels like an attack. I don't like getting criticized, but I wasn't getting criticized. Neither was Amy from 2 years ago who wrote that sentence. She's not getting criticized. The only thing that family member of mine did who saw that on a page there was a sentence that could have been written better. She did not criticize me. Yet in my tired state with not a lot of sleep because I switched my supplements and I have a muscle disease. So sometimes when I switch supplements, basically my muscle disease, I don't struggle with it that much, but it just means that my muscles don't go into rest mode at night. And I've had this for a few days now. And then I wake up really tired because basically my body didn't rest at night. Long story short, I was very grumpy this morning and then I got that message. And then it's very easy to be like, I'm getting attacked here. But she wasn't attacking me. She wasn't even criticizing me. She was just stating a fact. And that's one of the things that you need to learn about your business. Your business is just like, there's just a bunch of facts. And when someone says, hey, you're too expensive or your offer is too expensive, basically what they're saying is, I don't want to pay for this. And that's what we need to fix. I don't want to pay, I don't want to pay for this. Few things we need to fix there. The first thing is we need to switch up your marketing because probably they're just not seeing the benefits, and it might be that they're not seeing it because you're focused on the features. So for me, that could mean that when I'm selling a coaching program, I am so focused on like, hey, you'll get a login, you'll get 6 modules and 7 hours of coaching, and here are 3 PDF files. You know, if someone wants to sign up with me and they're like, ooh, this Amy person seems like a nice person to follow coaching from, but they have a joint bank account with their husband, for example, or they're talking it through with a friend and they'll be like, hey, Janine, I want to buy this. Look at what this Amy person has to offer. 6 modules and 7 hours of videos and 3 PDFs. Janine will be like, well, Charlotte, what are you actually getting out of it? Like, what is it going to get you? No, the PDF, the videos, the 7 hours of whatnot, those are features. We want to be focused on the actual benefits. So we want to look at like, hey, Charlotte, you know how you're struggling with your admin work. We're going to make it so that the 4 hours of work you put into this every week are reduced to only 20 minutes thanks to us teaching you how to set up individualized systems for you. The systems are only going to cost you $30 and you are going to save so much time so that you can start spending more time with your kids and you can start actually spending time on a creativity in your business, on helping people instead of being stuck, doing all of the admin on your computer and blah, blah, blah. This could be an example. In any case, we want to focus on the benefits. Now, the features are also important, especially for a certain type of clients who are very interested in learning what features are. But one of my main thing is when someone says you are too expensive, or basically I don't want to pay for this, it means that they're not seeing the benefits. It means that they're not seeing the return of what that can give them. And most of that you can fix through your marketing. Your general marketing needs to make it so that by the time people want to buy, they will actually want to buy and they won't think it's too expensive anymore. By the way, quick tip, if you think something is expensive, your audience will think it's expensive too. I make sure that I never call my programs expensive. And I even look at this as well for myself when I'm starting to sell something. A few weeks ago, we went from selling our Business Freedom Elevator to our Boss Up Mentorship, which costs a couple of thousands of euros more. And my team and I, we were it started creeping up on us that we were calling it expensive. Like, yeah, it's a lot of money that people are paying. And we noticed that and we're like, whoops, no, stop. If we think this is a lot of money, that's what we're going to be putting out into the world. You never want to make it so that it's a lot of money. You want to make it so that there's a really big return on things you're getting, right? So just pay attention to yourself, because it might be that you are selling something at a higher price than what you are used to paying for yourself. Maybe, for example, you're a personal trainer selling high-end packages to high-end clients, but you're not like a baller. You're not in a position that you can pay for that with a trainer yourself. You might be actually thinking to yourself, whoa, this is really expensive. Then it's going to slip up in your languaging that you're going to teach your client to think it's too expensive and that you are not worth that amount, or your service is not worth that amount. So just quick tip, examine yourself. Do you think your programs are expensive? Do you think your service is expensive? That's something you need to work through. So what we already talked about is you should really be selling the benefits of your offer. So in your marketing, make sure that you're focused on selling the benefits of your offer. And you can still show people the features, but that should be an afterthought. So for example, when I'm launching something, I'll be constantly focused on the transformation, the benefits of what something has to offer you. And then once in a while, like once a week, I'll also show the features of what is inside of my program during a 4-week period. So I'll be like, this is what the modules look like, and you'll get 7 hours of this, and coaching calls are then. But that's not my main selling point. This would be kind of like when you are selling a coffee maker. I have a big one downstairs. What you're selling is, let's say we want to sell coffee. Okay, so what you're selling is that feeling of, like waking up, not hitting the snooze button. You wake up and your coffee's already running, and you grab the warm cup of coffee and go sit outside in the sunshine, look at that wintry sunshine on your face, and you're wearing the bathrobe and like, oh, this is getting me, like helping me get started to like run the day. You're selling that, what that coffee does for you, and you're starting the day. Versus what you could be selling is like, this coffee maker has 7 settings. It's also nice to know, and at a certain point you will want to compare these settings of the different coffee makers, but maybe, and like translate this to your service, because I'm focused on services here. I don't really care about if it's 6 settings or 7 settings. I want to know how good the coffee is and how it's going to make me feel, That's what you want to do with your services. Make sure that you focus on that, and then you show the features as an afterthought. Don't forget to do it, by the way. People do want to know what they're buying, but make sure that you first have the benefits very clear. The second thing I just talked about was the net mindset thing. Like when people are saying you're too expensive, or I don't want to pay for this, or your offer is too expensive, do you actually agree with them secretly? Fix that first before you fix anything else, because you can't go and market something if you're secretly thinking it's not worth it. obviously people are going to think it's not worth it. Okay, so that was the second thing, is the mindset thing. Then the third thing, this one is so important. When you're offering services and people are saying it's too expensive, then chances are that they're just not hurting enough. And thing is, most people are hurting. For example, when someone wants to sign up with a personal trainer, let's all agree that personal training, like that's a quite the investment in your health. It's not easy to pay 70 euros an hour. How much, I don't know how much people charge for this, but let's say you're paying 70 euros an hour and someone says like, hey, yeah, here's this package, I want you to pay me 1,400 euros, which is the equivalent of, let's say, someone's full-time wage. That's a lot of money. You could think, if you're not focused on how much pain people are in. Let's say this is someone who wants to get pregnant, but she's struggling, for example, because she wants, I'm making this up as I go, but for example, she wants to get pregnant someday, but she wants to get in the best shape of her life right now. And right now she's dealing with insulin problems, which means that if she would freeze her eggs right now, because she's almost getting too old to have babies, the eggs would be of really bad quality. The pain is that this woman might never be able to have healthy children herself, with her DNA. The personal training can help improve that. When you're just looking at him like, hey, this is a 1,400 euro package, that's a lot of money. When you're talking about this might be the deal breaker between you having kids of your own, or like of your own DNA or not, then all of a sudden 1,400 euros seems like not that big of an investment at all, Now, I don't want you to think right now, but Amy, my thing is different, or what, I'm coaching you right now. What I want you to learn for yourself, and this is what I teach my clients, is how does this apply to me? This could be that when I am selling a program, I'm not just focused on, hey, I'm going to help you scale your business, but we're looking at, hey, you might be losing 10 years of your life because you're so super stressed out that you're sleeping so badly. And did you know that 6 hours of sleep worrying all the time compared to 8 hours of sleep not worrying costs you 10 years of your life? Oh, those grandchildren you want to see someday, you're not going to be able to see them because you, when you're stressed about work, will have just thrown that out of the window because you're going to die before you meet your grandchildren. Going into extremes here. What you want to do is you can implement this in your marketing. You can really show people what the actual pain is. The actual pain is that at night you scream at your children because you're so stressed out because your clients were texting you all day through all kinds of different channels, that by the end of the day, those little sweet angels who are just tired because they got food too late because mommy was still working I can go there, but immediately you feel the guilt and you just feel like, oh yeah, that really hurts. I can talk about that stuff and be like, don't you just hate it that, when your kids go to bed and you still have 200 emails to respond to, and then they come downstairs and you start screaming at them because you really want them to sleep because mommy still has to work? Is it their fault that they can't sleep? Or did they just absorb your stress because you were stressed because you still had 200 emails to respond to? If I look at that pain and I would play that out in my marketing, I could get clients to sign on for my organization product because they do hate the fact that they still have 200 emails at night and that they're less patient with their kids because they're so stressed out. This is just one tiny example. Circling back, when people tell you your offer is not worth the money, it's because they're not actually feeling the pain enough, is one of the reasons. They're not experiencing the pain. For example, one of my best friends, she sells tough cases for phones. I have one here. And I have dropped my new iPhone Pro Max 3 times on the floor in a variety of ways in the past week. And yeah, the case costs 50 euros. The phone is fine. When she keeps talking about online about the fact whoa, you just dropped your new phone of over 1,000 euros. You're just dropping it on the floor and then it breaks because you're too cheap to spend 50 euros on a case. If she would be doing that, yeah, every day again, I'll be like, yeah, I need to buy a case. Luckily, she's my best friend, and I get to steal her phone cases. I also steal her sunglasses. No, but seriously, that's an example with a product. You can also create a pain that it solves. Not all products solve pain, so that's a different thing. I want to be focused on services here. But yeah, look at the pain. Are you actually fixing your pain? Because if you're just looking at the benefits, you might be going into problem solving mode too soon and not focusing on the pain enough first. If people don't realize that they're in pain because you're not tapping into it, you're not talking about it so that they start recognizing it, they will talk themselves out of the sale, because if they're not in pain, why would they pay to fix the pain? So that's what we call the bleeding neck principle. Is you want to on the one hand, you want to do this in your marketing, but on the other hand, when you're in sales conversations, by the way, I have a podcast episode about opening the conversation in a sales way. That's episode 94 of the Fast Forward Amy show. So that's 94 about opening the conversation. When you're in a conversation, long story short, you always want to ask permission, but in a sales conversation, just quickly, the mistake people make is that they don't ask questions. They will try to sell their service. But basically, the one thing you need to be doing in a sales conversation is figure out what the pain is with people. If you do this in the correct way, and go and listen to that other episode to learn about how you can do this, you want to discover the actual pain. You will want to ask their permission to keep asking questions, and you want to do this like in an ethically okay way. You want to be like a genuine and caring person. But you want to discover what people's personal pain is. In 80% of the cases, after a sales call or after a conversation, when someone doesn't buy, it's because you did not go deep enough into the pain. So yes, I said it, go deep. Go very deep in your sales conversations. If they're not experiencing the pain, then why would they want to hand out money? Because the thing is, handing out money, like that's pain as well. Spending money hurts. So you got to make sure that something else is hurting more in order to have people pay you, right? Okay, so we had marketing, selling the benefits. Then we had the mindset tip of like, do you think it's costing you a lot of money? We were just talking about the pain. And then we have the objections. And when I learned this, that was huge. But when people tell you, I don't have the money for this, for example, it's often just a sign of the fact that there's something else. Like in 80% of the cases, it's too expensive isn't the actual objection. So you can go into that and you can actually handle those objections. By the way, if you're currently struggling with, that people ghost you after a sales call, or people ask you for a quote for their service and you send them an email with a quote which you spend a lot of time on and they never get back to you, or you're seeing that there are views and people like reaching out to you but you're not getting any sales, I'm hosting a sales webinar soon. It's about the 5 sales mistakes that you're making that are costing you clients. This is the first time I'm hosting this. It's going to be really epic, and I'm going to teach you basically how you can make sure that your client is finally buying instead of ghosting you. We're gonna make sure that all of the effort you're putting into what you do is actually gonna translate into sales, because let's face it, you're working hard. We just want to make sure that you're getting the sales. We're also going to look at how you can make sure that your current clients are going to be returning clients. That's going to be my sales webinar about the 5 sales mistakes you're doing or you're making that are causing clients to ghost you. You can find the opt-in button, so to register for free, through fastforwardamy.com/5 sales mistakes, or just in the link of the description of this episode. Highly recommend you go and sign up. This is going to be so valuable. You're going to be surprised at how easy it is to actually get more people to actually buy, because you might be getting leads, you might be getting views, you might be getting likes, you might be getting visitors on your, your About Me or your services page, but you're just not getting the sales. We're going to fix that. We're going to fix that conversion in my sales mistakes webinar. So fastforwardamy.com/5 sales mistakes. Make sure you don't miss out, because that objections piece I was just talking about, we're also going to fix that there. And so what I was saying is, in 80% of the cases, I don't have the money for this, is what people tell you, is not the true objection. If we're talking about Belgium specifically, for example, people in Belgium have a lot of savings. They usually actually have a lot of money. And what they're saying is, I don't have money. But what they're not saying is, something else. So what you can do is you can actually just like go a little deeper. Again, you need to be going deep when you're in sales mode. That's what she said. You want to figure out what else is holding people back from buying. And I'll tell you more about that in the webinar. But basically, it means that they're not seeing the return on the investment for them. So it means that they're not seeing the value. So for example, they're only seeing the 1,400 euros that they're spending on the personal training package. They're not seeing the return that they will actually have viable eggs to get pregnant with. Again, I already said it. I don't know a lot about this. I'm not an expert on the egg freezing thing, but this is just an example. I like to take very out of the box examples so that everyone knows like, okay, this is a bit of a weird example. How does this apply to me? So this is my challenge to you. How does this apply to you? The other thing is, you know how I said, I don't want to pay for this. So I don't want to pay. The pay is like, I don't see the value or the return. So why would I be paying for this? Because you're not seeing the return, right? I don't want to pay for this. This is probably your value, your service. It's not that they don't see the value of personal training, but they don't believe that you can help them. They don't believe that you are good enough at this, that it's your expertise, blah, 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 blah. So they don't really believe that you are the right person. So there you need to fix your authority. Again, that's your marketing. But you really need to, again, look at like, what if I am this person? Why would I not sign up with someone? Oh, because they weren't listening to me, because they didn't ask me any questions, because they don't have credentials. I was in a meeting last week with a new supplier for something services I need in my business. And the meeting was really great. And my gut feeling is like, yes, let's fucking go. And at the end of the meeting, instead of being like, yes, let's sign up, I was like, can you let me know a few clients of yours that I can give a call so I can talk to them? And I was fairly unashamed about it. I was like, you might think this is a weird question, and I think we're almost here. And thank you so much for all of this information. Can I now get some details of clients I can give a call? Because I don't trust my gut feeling anymore. I tend to say like, if your gut feeling is bad, follow it. If your gut feeling is good, find facts to support it. I'm going to repeat that. If your gut feeling is bad, follow it. If your gut feeling is good, find facts to support it. And that's what people do too. So they might have a good gut feeling, but they're just looking for proof that you have enough authority to help them. One of the things that could really help you out with that is, for example, testimonials. People who have gone through the same path, of like the training and the eggs, the weird thing I created for this episode. And they want to know that you did that because they're looking for proof that you are good at this, right? And then the other part of I don't want to pay for this is I might not trust myself that when I pay for a coaching package, I'm actually going to follow through with it. I think I am lazy. I don't trust myself from the past. It's like when people are like, I really want to invest in your program, but I don't have the money for it. Oh, what else is holding you back? Well, in the past, I've invested in programs before, and I tend to get really overwhelmed. And then I start procrastinating, and then I never open up the login ever again. They're not actually thinking your program costs too much or any of that. They're even not doubting your skills. They're doubting themselves. And that's what you need to go and look at. Like, why are they fearing themselves? And this is one of the things I tend to do in a final phase of a launch. I'll be like, okay, so you're looking for a way to trust this decision. You already trust me because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to my podcast. You trust me because you're, again, spending 1 hour on Instagram Live with me. So it's not me you don't trust. It's yourself that you don't trust. You don't trust yourself to take action when you commit to following my coaching. But that's one of the reasons why I want you to commit and pay for this program, because when you pay, the commitment will happen. When this would be a 30-euro program, you wouldn't be committing. And then I talk them through, for example, like, look at the past. When have you let yourself down? Okay, now promise yourself to not do that anymore, or let it go, or just realize that, that was then and that was you back then. Now you are a different person. So there it's all about trusting the I. So there are different fears at play. You don't know which fears, But it is important that you open the conversation and you go into the conversation with your potential client to figure it out. Just know that in 80% of the cases, the objection people tell you, especially when it's about money, is not the true objection. They're just not seeing the value. They don't believe in you providing them with the value. They're not seeing, the personal returns for them, or they're just afraid of themselves. So usually it is just a value and a belief problem. I explain more about this in my coaching programs, in my sales programs. And if you want to get a little sneak peek of me actually coaching you through getting more sales, especially if you have a feeling that people are reaching out right now and then never responding it again, I would love to see you in my sales mistakes webinar. So the link is FastForwardAmy.com/5 sales mistakes. That's 5 written and then sales mistakes. And as usual, you see this episode or you're listening to this episode, if you go to my website and just, by the way, check it out. We have a lot of content on there. FastForwardAmy.com/number of this episode. You will also see, for example, the webinar link there. So if you're ever listening like, oh, what was that again? You just look at the number of the episode, and then in the website, like on the blog, you will find all of the different things I talked about here, the different tips in the recap, but also the link to the webinar. Maybe from here you can hop over to episode 94 about opening the conversation. That will be really good for you. And if you liked this episode of the Fast Forward Amy Show, obviously I would love to hear from you. Even after more than 130 episodes, I'm still nervous. I'm still trying to improve every single week. So it would mean a lot to me if you're listening, for example, on Apple Podcasts. You could leave me a little review of what you thought of this episode, because maybe someone else looks at the podcast in the business category and they're like, oh, should I listen to this or not? And then a new review, or a recent review really helps people, helps to convince people to listen. And it's my mission to help as many people as possible all over the world to, achieve their own financial independence. And selling is a really big part of that, because sales are the fuel of your business. No matter what you do, it's really important. So if you leave a review, maybe one other person can achieve financial independence thanks to your review. So that would mean a world to me. And if you like this episode, let me know and come and tag me on Instagram as @FastForwardAmy. I'd love to see you there, and have a happy day.